Hello everyone, my name is Richard Hill. I am with the PPI Group and I handle all of the laser scanning sales and support for the Northwest for the Topcon and FARO products. Today I'm going to be focusing on the FARO Focus 3D 120. I have one right beside me here, and my goal for this web demo or this demonstration is to basically show you guys from start to finish exactly what it would take in order to collect some data, bring it into the scanning software, and give you a brief overview of the scanner and its capabilities and things like that. So without further ado, I'll start this presentation here. Again, I've been here at PPI for over 7 years, but I've been actually performing laser scanning, sales and support, workflow development, and consulting for about 4 years now. And PPI themselves we have an office in Seattle and one in Portland with full training facilities. We also resell Autodesk products and a whole slew of equipment. I'm on the equipment side. So I work alongside the software AEs as well as the hardware AEs, and we're able to develop really intuitive workflows for clients in all sorts of industries like AEC, MEP, and law enforcement. So if you're any one of those today, this video would be of interest to you as I go through and explain the laser scanner and its capabilities and features. Alrighty. And here's just basically a slide on the PPI group, and we've been around since 1927, so for a long time, and basically anything to do with measuring and drawing, we've been into it for a long time, and I'm very excited to be a part of this company in this area. Alright, without further ado, I'm going to be talking about the FARO Focus 3D 120. This is actually the multi-sensor system where it has additional sensors that I'll talk to you about today and explain those a little bit. So this gets a little bit small here on the screen, but as you can see, I'll zoom in here and move that over here. So this is the features of the 120, and so the first thing is intuitive touchscreen. Everything that you see on the touchscreen here itself is actually a lot like if you've ever run a tablet or an iPhone or an Android type phone. You would get the same type of feel with the touchscreen. It's very small and compact. It's only about 11 pounds total, which is awesome for if you want to raise up the system into some piping networks or things like that, or actually invert it and lower it into a vault or a manhole or something of that nature. I have a lot of clients that actually utilize it for that application. And this is one of only a couple scanners out there that you can actually invert it and utilize it upside down. So very powerful. Integrated camera, so built into the scanner you actually collect a full dome of information first, and then once that's completed that full dome, then you collect a full dome of imagery as well. The imagery is overlapped with the scan data almost perfectly within a pixel. So anywhere there's a pixel for the camera, there's also a point that coincides with that pixel. So that's very, very powerful for identifying different pipes that have different colors, and outdoor when you want to really show the architecture of a structure or things like that. It's very, very useful. Very high performance battery, so it lasts about 4.5 to 5 hours, and that actually is what am I trying to say here? It basically is very powerful because you can collect a lot of scans in that time, and so yeah. The data management, think of it a lot like a camera. The SD card actually comes right out of the scanner here, pops right out, and you can plug it right into your computer and utilize and copy your scans off of that very easily. We also have a built-in compass and a built-in altimeter, so we'll get a real close to accurate, within a couple degrees heading to north on our scan data, as well as within a few meters vertically for your altimeter. So extremely powerful to at least give you a good orientation and altitude for your raw scan data. We have also built-in dual compensation, which actually accounts for horizontal and horizontal dual axis, X and Y. So whenever we're a little bit out of tilt, within 5 degrees of the level plane, we're able to actually compensate for that in the software after the fact. So as we scan around and do a full scan and imagery and stuff, we can actually compensate for any kind of tilt that was in the scanner at that time. So it's very useful to not have to level up your scanner precisely if you don't want to, because we're using targets to resect or register our scans together. Then it's not necessary to always be perfectly level because the software will compensate for that. And the last thing is wireless LAN, which is very, very powerful for this system, because a lot of times if you're going to crank it up into a piping network or lower it, invert it and lower it into a manhole of some sort or a vault, then a lot of times you're actually not able to reach the scanner. So connecting it up to an Android or a Windows or a computer, it makes it so you can actually access it remotely. And I'll actually show you guys a brief demonstration of that today as well as part of my workflow. There's also the FARO Focus 3D X330 system that was just released. There's a couple differences with this system, but all in all, a lot of the features are actually the same with the two, as far as the weight and the size and the speed and things like that. The amount of points that it actually collects, they're all the same. But the main differences are extended range. So the other one's 120 meters. This is up to 330 meters. Both will scan outside or inside without any issues. The big difference between the two is the laser that we're actually utilizing for this is this is a class 3R laser. So it's not eye safe within about 8 feet at the normal setting that I tell people. But a lot like the other scanners that are out there for the other brands. But the Focus 3D X330 actually has an eye safe laser. So there's no possible chance of ever getting your eyes damaged whatsoever with that scanner. And it has a built-in filter to actually decrease noise. So for higher reflectivity objects like metals and things like that normally most laser scanners have a hard time hitting, or it creates a little more noise. This actually has a filter to help alleviate that on the fly, so it makes it so it's even easier to scan than before. It's literally press a button and it runs, and you collect data, and it's even cleaner, I should say. One thing that's a little bit of a misconception is outdoor scanning. So the 120 works great for scanning outdoors, but there's also the main limitation is the range. So a lot of times people may want to reach out and touch something at quite a bit further distance, and a lot of times they would want to actually go with the X330 if they're looking for that. But both will scan outside very easily and without any issues. It's just all about how far away do you want to actually reach something. And then one other component that's in this unit versus the 120 is the GPS. The GPS actually aids in the process of registration. So we have the compass, the altimeter, but then also the GPS is in there to give us a position in relation to the other scans that were taken in the same area. So then when we register our scans theoretically should be in the correct spots within a couple meters, the correct rotation from the compass within a few degrees, and a correct altitude within a couple meters as well. And so all we need to do at that point is tweak the data a little bit using targets or cloud-to-cloud registration, and finish out our registration, and we got a finalized point cloud that's accurate. So with that being said, I will go ahead and hook up to the laser scanner at this point, and I'm just going to use Google Chrome. And the first step I would want to do is on the scanner itself is I would want to go to Manage, scroll down, go to General Settings, go to Wireless LAN, and enable it or turn it on. Once that's turned on, It usually takes a few seconds to activate, but once it's turned on, then I can go to my internet connection here, and I want to connect up to the laser scanner serial number. You'll see that pop up there. Once that's connected up, then within your internet browser, whichever one you choose to use, I can then type in the IP address for the scanner as well as adding the port address. So we can see 192.168.111.2 and then the port 8400. The big thing to remember is when you log in to, or when you connect to the wireless network, it'll ask you for a password, and that's actually on the same screen that you enable the wireless LAN to connect up. So once we go here, we should see it connect up to the scanner, and that may take a few seconds to actually access it. What it's actually going to do is show you a remote display of what you're seeing on the screen itself. You're not actually going to see the picks and clicks on the screen, so usually I'll just hit the home button on the scanner itself, get it back to the main screen, and then start working through the settings that I need to adjust on here. So the one thing that I usually make sure and do check first is under Manage. Well, first of all, I'll talk about the main home screen here. We have a pull down tab. We can click on it and pull it up and down. It gives us a quick preview of the settings that we have. This is really nice that once you become experienced with this scanner, that you'll just be able to glance at this and know what settings and how many points you're going to collect, whether or not imagery is turned on and things like that. We have parameters where we can change different settings on the fly. View scans is a way to view the scans that we've already collected, which is very powerful to make sure that we can keep track of which ones we've collected or what have you. We have Manage. Manage is usually what I'll pop into. I'll go into Projects, and then within Projects I can actually click on the default one. You can create a new project if you want to, but usually what I recommend to people is change your file-based name to something that's relevant for that project, maybe a project name or a project number, things like that. And so we'll just say Demo 1, and you can use your keyboard, which is really nice. Scan, and then we'll change our initial scan to number 1. So our first scan is going to be named number 1. So then I'll go back to Projects and back one menu, and you can change your operators or your profiles. Profiles is for scanning indoors, outdoors. You can just change your resolution and your quality and whether or not you want to take pictures, stuff like that. As far as sensors, you can turn those off and on. The other thing I like to check, just to make sure, is under General Settings. Date and time is one thing that's very important to some clients, but another thing would be the units. So units, I want to make sure it's set to feet and Fahrenheit, and you can tell it's set because it has a little green check box and it's green across the board here. So that's one thing I like to check right off the bat as well, just to make sure I don't screw up, because once you bring it into the software, the FARO Scene software, it's got to have units identified. Otherwise you might import the incorrect ones, and I'll show you that in a minute. So once we've done that, the next thing we'll do is go to Parameters, and we'll actually change, here we have selected profiles, we have resolution, which is the amount of points that we're actually going to collect, their spacing and things like that. We'll change that in a minute. Horizontal vertical restriction, so if we just want to scan a small area of a room, we would actually be able to use a rectangle to actually limit the bounds of that area, and just scan a specific area. It's actually better, in my opinion, to scan everywhere, all around at once, a full dome of information, a full 360 by, basically a full dome of information. And when we're doing that, we're able to just isolate specific areas if we need to look at that after the fact, and hide or delete everything else. But if you ever need it, you have it just in case. And it doesn't slow down the scanner at all. It actually is just as fast to collect a full dome versus a restricted area. And you can select which sensors are actually utilized here. You can actually scan with color or not. All you need to do is click that, and you'll actually see where it pops up with a grayscale, the black, gray, and white circles there. That means that color is turned off, and we're just going to collect only intensity values or reflectivity values instead. So you'll see a black and white type picture. That's actually not a picture, it's actually the scan points colorized by their intensity. But we can also opt to, as an additional deliverable or observable, is collect the scan color with the imagery. And then we can change our color settings for brightness and gamma and things like that, but it's kind of a smart filter, if you will. So you click on this and you can actually change, do I want it evenly weighted, horizontally, or zenith weighted? Usually I pick evenly weighted for most scenarios, but if you're in a dark corridor with a light right above you, there's different ways to play around with it. And I encourage people to do their testing and see which one would work best for that project. Do a quick scan, throw it in your laptop, see how it looks, and do the rest of your scans like that one that you prefer. So as far as the resolution goes, the actual point spacing, point density, we can actually just hit the plus symbol or the minus symbol on the screen, and everything that I'm clicking on the computer now is actually as if I was on the screen pressing the button up here. So you don't require the computer whatsoever. I'm just showing the capability that you can utilize it as a remote control if you want to. So we can bump our resolution up or down. The recommended setting that I usually tell people to start with is 1/4 by 3 times. You're going to be at about 5.5 minutes with photos as well. You're going to collect just under 44 million points total, and the separation of points at 30 feet is about 0.22 inches on a grid. So your point spacings, if you look at them at 30 feet, your points are going to be about less than a quarter of an inch separation between them. And so that's a real quick way to be able to tell, am I getting enough density, or am I going to have to bump that resolution up to collect more? So just for this demo, I'm going to collect a quick scan, bump it all the way down, so I'm going to only take about 2 minutes to collect a scan, and then we can show you the full workflow for that. So once I pick my resolution and I have images turned on, I can actually see where I'm collecting just under 3 million points. My quality is 3 times, and my total duration in minutes and seconds is going to be 2 minutes and 16 seconds, and I have my RGB. The RGB will actually tell us that color is turned on. If that was grayscale or intensity only and imagery was turned off, we would see that black, gray, white like before. So now I can just hit the Start Scan button to collect our scan. The cool thing about this is we can actually see a heads-up display up here that shows that wireless LAN is turned on, that it's actually communicating with the SD card at the moment, so it's actually writing data. As far as the scanner goes itself, it actually has LED lights that show us that it's what its status is. Once they start blinking, basically it's getting ready to go. Once we see the red lights, we'll actually see the fact that it's actually scanning is in progress. One thing you'll notice is it's beeping right now, if you can hear that. The reason for the beeping is if you want to walk outside of the room and come back in, you can actually have the beeping on, so from far away you'll be able to hear that beeping, and you can turn the volume up or down, or like I like to do typically is actually just turn the beeping off altogether, and that works out great, especially for demos and things like that. So once it's done collecting a full dome of scan data, it then goes through and starts taking the imagery, and it actually will collect a full dome of imagery as well. So each one of the images, it actually rotates. You can see the mirror moving here, but it'll actually take several images and stitch them all together to create a full dome. And the algorithm that FARO uses is quite good in the stitching process, where you have 2 images that come together. You don't see a lot of merging of that data or warping or offsets or anything like that like you do with a lot of other softwares. So as soon as this is done, I'll be able to throw out or grab the SD card, throw it right in the laptop, and we'll go from there. So you can actually see in the upper left-hand corner up here, you'll actually see where it says color capturing. While it was scanning, it was saying scanning in progress, and then you'll actually see where it says something about finalizing here in a few seconds as well. So one thing you see also at the bottom is eye safety distance. So it's saying radially I can be about 0.33 feet away. The crazy part about this scanner is it moves so fast and collects information so fast that FARO actually has created white papers and documentation from professors and doctors that show that it's actually almost impossible to get eye damage from the scanner because it moves so fast. It'd be kind of like taking a laser pointer and moving across the room really quickly and saying you could get eye damage from that. But in reality, you would have to take that laser pointer and point it at somebody's eye for an extended period of time, a few seconds to actually have that possible. So this scanner, as you saw, I just collected 3 million points possible in a matter of just a few seconds. No matter what the density of point cloud that you're collecting, the imagery always takes about 1.5 minutes to collect for evenly weighted photos. It actually takes a little bit longer to collect the photos when you've collected horizontal or zenith weighted information or imagery correction. So as you can see up in the upper left hand corner up there, we're getting different views here of what's happening. And then we can actually see a sample of the point cloud that we collected here, but we'll be able to zoom in and pan around. You can see I moved, so it's a little distorted. You can see my lighting equipment and things like that, the chandelier and my curtains, all that stuff. So you can actually see exactly this, the whole environment. So you can either delete this one or start another, like literally pick up your scanner, walk to the next one. You don't have to power it down like other scanners. Pick it up, set it down, and hit the green button to start scan again. And the cool thing is you'll actually get a level bubble up here that once you're outside of that 5 degrees, it'll actually highlight that bubble and say that you're outside of level. So that's very powerful. So we can just hit the home button, and what I'll do is pull out this SD card and then plug it in here, and I will minimize these two guys here, and I'll minimize this too. Once the SD card is plugged in, we should have it pop up on our list here. It may take a few seconds to recognize. Okay. And throughout this video, my whole goal here is actually to do a live demonstration. So when you see like little lags and things like that, this is a true to life full workflow. So here we go. There's our removable disk, which is the SD card. Once that pops up here, pull it over so you can still see me, so you know it's all live. I can go into the scans folder and go into once I've gone into the scans folder, we'll see all the scans that are on this SD card. A lot of times I like to copy and paste this scan to my desktop or to a server, things like that. Just that way I can actually get it over, and it works a lot quicker in the process of copying data and things like that when it's on your local drive. Okay, now that I've done that, I want to open up the FARO Scene software, and I'll go to all programs and I'll open up FARO here, go up to FARO Scene. The version of Scene that I'm using is FARO Scene 5.2, and so we'll give that a few seconds to launch. Of course, I'm running screen capturing software right now, so it's going to take that's taking a bit of my resources at the moment. So this once this loads up, I'll throw it on the side of the screen here and give that a couple more seconds here. So once we get into FARO Scene, it's pretty straightforward. You can make it as complicated as you want, or you can make it as simple as you want. I'm a firm believer of workflows, and literally like directed at each step, you try to maximize your time and minimize the amount of steps that you're actually doing. So one thing you'll see pop up is scanner SD card detected. This is actually saying that it's recognized as a SD card that's been formatted for the scanner. Do you want to import all the data off of it and create a new project? I usually hit no, because I may have scans on there that aren't relevant to this specific project. So I'll hit up here, I'll go File New, or just hit the new project button, and we'll call it Demo 1, just like we did on the scanner. Hit Create. Once it's created this, we're going to see a couple different windows. We have like our File Explorer for our scans on the left-hand side, and then our main window to actually view data. So we'll give that a few seconds to create the project. Once we've done that, the cool part is we can actually just take this scan that we have here and drag it and drop it. But the first thing I always like to check personally, especially when you have a new install, is go to Tools and Options and Units of Measurement. Once you've clicked on that, you should see that everything should be set to the units that you want to work in. As you remember, we had the scan set, or the units of measurement on the scanner itself set to feet. So we want to make sure the import is set to feet. If it's set to meters, which is the default, it'll actually screw up your scale factor and mess with you there. And I've learned that from experience. So we'll hit OK, and all I need to do once I got the right units of measurement is drag this scan, the raw scan that I created, drag it and drop it over into this window. Once I've done that, now I can start working with that scan. If we had multiple scans, then I could register and do things like that. But the whole idea is just to show you a quick little demo, and we'll see how this goes and moves forward, and I can create more videos as we go along. And yeah. So the FARO Scene software, you can see it's a file structure. So we have scans. If we had 10 scans, you would see all the scans listed below here, and you would see all the names. And if you ever wanted to do anything to an individual scan, you would just right click on that scan and go to View, and let's go to Planar View. The Planar View is going to be the full dome of information actually laid flat. So it's going to look like a Traverse Mercator view, which will make it a little bit warped on the top and things like that. So, but the scan data is not warped whatsoever. It's just the image that we're looking at. So it's pulling that up now. I'm going to move this over so we got a little more room. Okay, so we're able to pan around. This here, what you see so far is just scan data. This is not imagery whatsoever. So you can see the richness of the information. The color of the information is all grayscale, so it's all black and white. And those are intensity values that I told you about earlier. So you can see crystals and metals and things like that appear more dark. That's because they were harder to actually capture information on those. So things like that you'll see pop out as, see, this is chromed metal, this lamp here. So that's actually refracting the light, because it's hitting, the light is actually hitting the chrome and bouncing off, and it's not getting a return to the scanner. So that may be a void or a distortion within the data. But everything else that is scannable, you can see the information very clearly. So for example, if I wanted to view something within 3D, I could just highlight, select, go to View and 3D. This will pull up a separate viewing window or a separate tab that will show that information in 3D. And then we can do measurements or just look at it and orbit around it and things like that. Basically analyze it a little bit more. So first thing I like to do is set my rotation point using this little target feature. I set it somewhere on the center of the target, and then I can rotate around and look at that object. I can do things like measuring. So if I pick this little measurement tool up here, you can see, click this and then click 2 points of measurement, then it gives me an actual distance. The 3 different axes, X, Y, and Z, a distance, and then the X and Y here too. So you can see those there. There's other things that are very powerful, so for law enforcement or measuring the length of a pipe, or you know, from lane line to lane line measurements, or the clearance of a bridge, all sorts of stuff. You can do it as easily as just that. One other thing that I like to show is that's 3D view, but I can also do it from the 2D view or the planar view. Just click a measurement point anywhere, like on the ceiling and all the way down to the floor, and it shows you the exact height of those from those 2 points. That may not be exactly vertical. It really depends on how accurately you pick those 2 points. But once I hit enter, then I'll see it actually creates that triangle, and it'll show me the distance and also the vertical difference. So you can actually see there's a little bit of a difference there. So we would want to trust the vertical difference versus the slope distance. So very, very useful there. So one other thing I like to show here is if we had targets within this view, if we had targets within this view, we would want to start tagging them. There's two ways to do it within FARO Scene, and FARO actually has a lot of really great videos for this, but if you want to identify targets either manually or in batch mode, you would just identify the target, use the smart tools up here like the checkerboard target or the sphere target, which is nice, you can utilize either or, and you'll actually just click on it and click the target and it'll identify it for you. So you'll just do that with 3, 4, 5 targets, however many you have within that particular scan. You don't need to worry about naming in particular. The only time you'll ever have to worry about naming those targets, a specific name, is if you're having a problem area where you don't have enough targets or things like that. But that comes more with actual training and things like that. So very useful here. We also have a view where we can actually go into 3D. So let me pull this up. If we click on this and we go to View and 3D, it'll show us the entire scan from a 3D perspective as well. And one thing I like to do is actually click like a top-down view, and I'll set, instead of airplane mode, I'll switch it to the little world, which is the examine tool, and I'll rotate around, and you can actually see the entirety of that one single scan that only took a few seconds. But this is just the scan data. We haven't yet looked at the imagery information yet. But the key thing to realize is that when you're looking at this information, it's very, very rich in itself, as it is just the intensity values. So you can change your point diameter if you want them smaller or larger to do kind of gap filling. It doesn't add more points or take them away, it just changes the diameter of the points. We also have something called clear view mode, which is quite useful when you want to actually see into the point cloud. And it kind of hides the points that are closest to you, and actually it shows you a kind of a ghosted view is what I like to call it, but you'll actually be able to see that as it renders and see the ghosted view of everything that was collected. So that's very powerful as well. The next step I would like to do is actually go to Operations, right click on the scan, go to Operations, Pre-Processing, or I'm sorry, Color and Pictures, and Apply Pictures. So I'll show you, it would like to save before I do that, so that'll take a few seconds to do that. But while it's doing that, I'll basically explain the imagery that's actually collected. As I kind of stated before, is every pixel from the camera itself lines up almost perfectly with the points that were collected. So even if a point is close up or far away, like I showed you with the umbrella is a lot closer to me. Even so, it basically, wherever there's a point in a pixel that lines up, it will actually colorize a point from the color of the pixel. So there's an RGB or red, green, blue value that's assigned to every one of those pixels within the camera. That RGB value will be assigned to the point. So in essence, you will have a long list of points, about 3 million points, that are XYZ coordinates, intensity value, and RGB value. So you'll actually have 7 different fields for all 3 million points. So it's very, very powerful with that. So it looks like it may be done. So what I can do is right click on it, go to View, and I can do a quick view or planar view. Either one will show me the imagery. I like the quick view too because it actually shows you a quick little way that you can actually rotate around really quickly within the scan data. And so you can actually see here, I'll pick my orbit tool, and you can actually see me rotate around within that scan from the position or the eyesight of the laser scanner itself. So very, very powerful. And you can of course do the measurement tools within here just like you were within the intensity view, but you can see how everything's been colorized here. If we want to bounce into the planar view instead of the quick view, the main difference between the two is a quick view is basically it's kind of like a low resolution image. Everything that's loaded is low resolution. So if you want to go into view information and view everything with a higher level of quality and stuff like that, then the planar view would be where you would want to do it. So that is complete. So then the next thing I can show you real quick is actually viewing this data within 3D view as well. So this will give you an idea, like just there you were looking at imagery, but now we'll be looking at the point cloud itself has now been colorized. So this is extremely powerful if you have pipes or things like that, or a scene where you can actually see the colorization from the hardwood floor down there and the curtains that are black and a little bit of red on the rug and things like that. So it's very, very powerful to actually colorize and have those RGB values for each one of the points. And this will give us one more way to analyze or really take a look at the scene itself. So with that being said, that is basically what I wanted to show you guys today. If you have any questions whatsoever, please don't hesitate to either shoot me an email, here's my contact information, or give us a call at the office at the number listed there, or even just shoot me an email. If you guys have any ideas for other videos or any comments, please let us know, and I will try to do my best to keep improving these and showing more information. My next demonstration, I want to actually show the workflow from the scanner all the way through the Recap Pro software utilizing cloud-to-cloud registration as well. Without further ado, I'll let you get back to what you're doing, and thank you for taking the time to watch this video. Have a great day.